America the Beautiful, sweeping natural vistas, pristine waterways, abundant wildlife populations. The remnants of wild America stir our emotions, touch our souls, make us feel proud. But the increasingly high-tech, fast-paced world of today is eroding away the edges of wilderness, erasing our environmental riches, poisoning our waters, and pushing wildlife onto ever smaller islands of habitat and into increased conflict with man. This is the story of a new solution to a very old problem that can save the animal that most reminds us of wilderness and our relationship with nature. The grizzly bear once roamed the continent as a co-equal to primitive man, hunting the same prey along the same untamed landscape. The great bear instilled in man a sense of reverence and kinship. To some tribes, the grizzly was a four-legged human. To others, killing a bear was like killing a person or a relative. Then came Western expansion and the taming of the land with guns and barbed wire. The grizzly went from revered to reviled. Destroyed by the thousands in eradication campaigns, the killing stopped in California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah only when there were no grizzlies left to kill. When the species finally received protection in 1975, fewer than 1,000 animals occupied less than 2% of their original range in the continental United States. Despite their protected status, today these magnificent animals continue to die. Ironically, many die as a direct result of trying to survive. All too often, their unparalleled ability to find sustenance leads them to human establishments where a bounty of foods are carelessly, sometimes intentionally made available. A simple case of sunflower seeds taken from a bird feeder can develop into a deadly addiction that may eventually see a bear rip into a home in search of food. Relocating food-conditioned bears is the only tool historically available to wildlife managers. Unfortunately, relocated bears usually come back, leaving wildlife managers with no choice but to destroy them. The sad truth is that, although still living and breathing, once food-conditioned, a bear is dead long before the insertion of the needle that introduces physical death into its bloodstream. A fed bear truly is a dead bear.
You ready to go to work, Blushy?
But thanks to one woman's vision, another option now exists. Over the last 24 years, wildlife biologist Carrie Hunt has spent thousands of hours observing wild bears and testing innovative behavior modification techniques. Carrie developed and conducted the first field tests of pepper spray, commonly used today as an effective, non-lethal deterrent to bear attacks. She was also the first person to show that, if properly applied, rubber bullets could safely repel free-ranging grizzly bears. Her understanding of how bears think and use territorial boundaries has helped Carrie piece together an approach and groundbreaking philosophy for managing so-called problem bears. Teach them.
And I decided I was going to make a difference. I was going to give bears a chance to be wild once they had become problems. I use positive reinforcement with negative reinforcement, and I make the right thing easy. And I also ask that the bear prefer to do the right thing. We're training bears, we're teaching bears what the rules are. I call it bear shepherding. We're shepherding these bears through their lives and trying to help them survive.
This one-of-a-kind program is called Partners in Life. At the heart of the program is the Karelian Bear Dog. Bred in Finland and Russia for the last 2 centuries to hunt bears and other wildlife, Karelians are powerful, intelligent, and fearless. Weighing in at a mere 60 pounds, a properly trained dog can easily hold a 600-pound grizzly bear at bay. The Partners in Life program teaches bears to recognize and avoid human boundaries. Although each encounter is different, teams of dogs and handlers essentially place themselves between a bear and a conflict situation, forming an impenetrable barrier. Then, they tell the bear to leave.
If the bear stays there, we begin to move in on the bear, asking it to leave. Until the bear does what we want it to do, we will push the bear, chase it, teach it. You cannot come into where there are people, you can't come near homes. We're going to make it very uncomfortable for you.
Teaching bears is only half the partnership. Partners in Life biologists also teach landowners and campers how to properly store foods to avoid attracting the bears.
There's sunflower seeds, there's millet. What we have here is a complete trail food for bears. Plums, dog food, bird feed, and suet. And what we're going to end up with, of course, is a bear that has learned to come into homes to get food. And that is why we're working this bear. She's dead if we can't teach her that it is absolutely not okay for her to come into our areas.
Carrie's steadfast partner in this work is Tim Manley, a bear management specialist for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Together, they have worked with hundreds of bears, refining Carrie's techniques along the way.
The most important tool I've seen is the whole program that Carrie's developed in teaching the bears and putting it all together and integrating it. The whole idea of being able to work with bears that are getting into trouble and get those bears to the point where they're still in the population, we retrain them, reteach them so they're wild bears, they're not getting into trouble, so we don't end up having to remove them.
For bears, 1998 was one of the worst food years on record in Montana. That summer, Star, a female grizzly with cubs, broke into a number of cabins in search of food. Star could have justifiably been destroyed, but grizzly bear recovery officials decided to let Carrie and Tim try to turn her around. After 3 months of teaching her, frequently from dusk till dawn, Star did indeed learn to stay out of trouble.
Right?
Hey there, go on!
12 o'clock. Get out of here, bear!
By summer of 2000, after losing each of her young from 2 previous litters, it looked as if she might finally be on track to turn out a pair of cubs, Sandy and Elliot. But because of insufficient funding, Carrie's team spent just 3 months in the field that season. During their absence, Star slowly slid into old habits until finally she was again breaking into cabins. Had funding been available to monitor Star and continue all important prevention work, her slide could have been avoided. Her cubs would have gone on to become productive members of the population. Instead, the only freedom Star, Sandy, and Elliot will now ever know will come to them in dreams each winter during hibernation in a Washington State research facility where they will live out their lives.
The sad thing is, in Star's case, when we left here in June, she was a success story, and she had regained her wildness. We watched her cruising through homes in cover, doing the things that wild bears do with their cubs. This is the first litter that she would have pulled off. And we've worked 3 years to get her here, so it's very hard. Because we weren't funded, so we couldn't be here.
Star's cries cannot restore her freedom, but they reverberate loudly as a plea to prevent other bears from suffering a similar fate. As the only organization in the world capable of reversing the behavior of problem bears, the Wind River Bear Institute and Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Foundation are working together to heed Star's call. We are working to build a funding base to support this work in perpetuity and allow the Partners in Life program to grow, not only in Montana, but around the globe. This growth depends on wildlife agencies incorporating partners in life into their bear conservation strategies. In Montana, it's already happening.
I would classify the use of the Karelian Bear Dogs as the single most important conservation tool that we use in dealing with grizzly bears. And the reason I say that is that grizzly bears eventually are going to come in contact with people. And when bears and people mix, the bears lose. And so whatever we can do to affect the behavior of those bears and keep them alive and keep them in habitats that they'll be secure in, that's a real win for everybody. It's going to make the difference between whether we are able to recover and expand the grizzly bear population or whether we're not.
But building the endowment will take time. Until then, the Wind River Bear Institute needs help now to cover overhead and operational costs, to continue the process of caring for the dogs, taking them from birth through the long hours of training required before they can safely work with the bears. We also need help to ensure the training of biologists in bear shepherding techniques, to expand our mandate to bear-proof communities by reducing the amount of human food sources so readily available to bears, and of course, to continue teaching bears like Star and her cubs.
Most difficult part of my job is have to go in, trap a bear, and euthanize it, because we didn't have the money or the commitment to work with that bear, because we know there's things that we can do to keep that bear alive.
It is critical that we get funded to do this, because we don't have any other alternative. I'm in this to save bears.
Will you answer Star's call? Help us keep the Partners in Life program the business of keeping bears alive. Please be our partner by contributing to the preservation and protection of these magnificent animals. Together, we can make a difference for bears forever. Nothing less than their survival depends on it.
Let's go find the bears.